Back again. We are going to talk about the second portion of our transformation tools. So, in our first session, we talked about the scale tool, the shear tool, reshape tool, and the free transform tool. Now, what we're going to talk about this time are our rotate and reflect tools, as well as expand upon our free transform tool. So, let's create a shape on the artboard and give it some stroke and a fill, and let's see what we can make happen. So we now have this rectangle, and we're going to touch on our rotate tool. It's pretty self-explanatory. The rotate tool essentially lets you click and rotate your object around a specific axis. Now you can rotate and select where that axis is by simply clicking the rotate tool, which is the letter R on your keyboard, or it is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th item down on your tools panel, which again should be on your left hand side if you have not customized your setup. And then you can click anywhere to change the original registration point. You'll notice it's a blue target cursor that's usually over the center point of your object. And you can change that by clicking anywhere on the board, and that will place where it will rotate around. And then you can click and drag, and you'll notice your shape now rotates around that specific registration point, that origin. And then you can drag it and you can drop it wherever you want. If you want, while you're doing that, you can also hold down your Alt key or Option key on the Mac, and if you release it, it will make a copy in the location of your rotation. Okay? So there's an option using the rotate function. The next tool we're going to talk about is the reflect tool. It works similar to rotate in terms of picking a registration point and then it rotating, but essentially this reflects. Think of a mirror. It makes an exact copy along an axis that you place on the other side, but it just moves your object to that side. Again, if you wanted to copy it, you would have to hold down the Alt or the Option key and then do it that way. So if you were to hover over it, you'll see that you can select this tool with the letter O on your keyboard. Again, here's our registration point. You can select and reflect it accordingly, or you can click an area and then reflect according to that. It won't rotate, it actually reflects so that it looks as if this point is a center axis and you have an exact clone on the opposite side. And that's how you would use the actual reflect tool. Now, you can choose to double click on it and look at it in a preview version, and you can see where it will rotate, if it's going to reflect on a vertical axis or a horizontal axis, and then you can specify angles. You can click OK, and it will do your rotation for you. You also have the same option with the rotate tool. You can transform it live and look at it while it's previewing, and click OK to finish that rotation off. Same thing, rotate and reflect, except reflect makes a copy that looks like it's the exact opposite on the other side of your symmetry line, while rotate just rotates it around a certain point. Now with your free transform tool, we're going to click that. That's the letter E on your keyboard. You can actually do more things with this than you may have noticed. Upon first inspection, you can just, push and pull your shape by grabbing any of the actual square corners for your transform. But if you hold the Alt key, you notice it goes about its center. If you hold the Command key, you'll notice that it starts to shift a little. If you hold this, you begin to drag out, but you hold Command, Alt, and Shift, or Option, Command, Option, and Shift. As you push and pull, you'll notice it starts to give you perspective. You can actually change how this looks in terms of a perspective. And you can do that from any of the points that you have. The only thing you have to be sure you do first is you have to click on the point, start dragging it, then hit your Command, Alt, or Control, Alt, and Shift, or Option, Shift keys, depending upon which system you're using. And then you can morph it accordingly. Using the Command key only, or your Control key only, uses it as a deform tool. It distorts the shape. And again, you have to click, you have to start dragging first, and then hit the button. Otherwise, it won't know to start using the specific method that you're looking for. So those are options that are under the free transform tool. And then we talked about your rotate, and we talked about your reflect. So all you got to do is you fool around with those, you get accustomed to how they work and they function, and then make sure you've checked out the first section to this so that you're not in the dark and you understand how to get to this point with these tools. And then fool around with them a bit, become more familiar, as we always say, so that way you're up to speed if we move on to something different later on and we refer to these. And I'll see you guys in our next session.